to Namibia, Charlotte Fenton. Your Excellency, good morning and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning to you. It's great to be joining you this morning.
Now, COP26 is set to kick off next week, as I've just mentioned. Is everything in place?
Yes, certainly. Preparations are going well. We're now 4 days to go until we start, so it's down to the finishing touches. Organising a global conference of this size is a huge undertaking, and of course compounded by COVID-19 and the need to ensure that adequate measures are in place to protect all those attending. The UK has been determined that COP26 will go ahead as a in-person event, so they've done everything they can to ensure that that happens. We're delighted that His Excellency President Geingob is attending along with his delegation from the government, and proud to support also the youth and the youth representatives who will be attending as well from Namibia.
How can gatherings of this nature, enforce bilateral relations of Commonwealth countries?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a global summit, but it also, of course, offers the opportunity for groups such as the Commonwealth to come together, to engage in person, to strengthen those relationships. The Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, of course, was postponed this year, so this platform does provide a chance to for Commonwealth countries to come together to tackle climate change in our regions and countries, and advocating for the ambitious 2030 emission targets ambition in line with reaching net zero globally by the middle of the century.
Your Excellency, for nearly 3 decades, the United Nations has brought almost every country on the planet together for global climate summits known as COPs. Climate change has progressed from, what was a minor concern to now a worldwide priority. The 26th annual summit will take place next week, as we've mentioned. But what role does the UK, play as COP26 co-president? What role does this imply?
So the role of the the COP president is to open and close the session, to preside over the meetings held throughout the session and ensure that all parties observe the rules and, as I say, have oversight of the proceedings. The UK, alongside Italy, will hold the presidency for the 26th session of the COP, which starts from the climate change conference next week and runs for the whole year. So the conference is just the start of the work to be done throughout this joint presidency. And throughout the next year, the UK will look to push the climate change agenda globally to ensure that countries deliver on their promises and commitments to address climate change and do all that they can to limit global warming.
Most experts believe, Your Excellency, that COP26 is not just yet another international summit, but that it really does have unique urgency. What are your thoughts on the matter?
Yeah, there's absolutely a unique urgency here. We've all heard of global warming. It's imperative that the world ensures that global temperatures do not exceed 1.5 degrees in the next 9 years. And without meeting that target, we're going to see the effects of global warming in the form of increased temperatures, more drought, more flooding. So at COP26, all countries need to make their commitments to ensure that we stay within this target and minimise the massive impact that potentially could arise if we don't limit global warming.
Talk to us about what the United Kingdom is doing to combat climate change.
So within the United Kingdom, there's several ways that we're tackling climate change. The UK was the first country to cut our emissions by more than 40% since 1990. That's the fastest rate out of all the G7 countries. We're the first major economy to pass laws for net zero carbon emissions by 2050. The UK is the largest producer of wind energy, offshore wind energy in the world. We've announced plans to double our international climate finance in 2019. We said that we would double it to £11.6 billion. And we're working to encourage other donors to meet and move beyond the $100 billion per year collective goal to mobilise support for developing countries in tackling climate change.
Mm-hmm. In 2015, COP21 was hosted in Paris, and there every country decided to work together to keep global warming below 2 degrees Celsius. And that's where the Paris Agreement was established, with a goal of keeping it at 1.5 degrees Celsius. And that 1.5 degree is critical, because every fraction of a degree of warming will result in the loss of many more lives and the destruction of livelihoods. What can we expect to come forth from this year's summit, COP26?
Well, there are goals for COP26 which fall into 4 pillars, and those are mitigation, adaptation, finance, and collaboration. So the countries are coming together to look at how can we mitigate those risks of climate change? What can every country in the world do together to keep with that 1.5 degree target within reach? And adapting, what can countries do to minimise the risks, to stop, to ensure that climate change does not affect the country? So looking at how to protect and restore habitats. What do we need to do to ensure that every country has an adaptation communication in place? And then on finance, every country needs to have the money available in order to put these measures in place. And finally, collaboration. You've mentioned COP21, which was held in Paris, and out of that came what is known as the Paris Rulebook, and that is the global commitment that was made at COP21 by all countries. So collaborating together to deliver on those negotiations further.
On the note of the third pillar, which is finance, by 2025, the UK plans to double its international climate finance to 11.6 billion per year, and this is in an aid to assist developing countries. Perhaps you can provide more detail on how this climate finance will assist, developing countries such as Namibia itself.
So international climate finance refers to UK aid support given to poorer countries to deal with the causes of climate change. The impacts of climate change are going to be felt most severely in the developing world. The World Bank estimates that 100 million people could be pushed to poverty by the impacts of climate change as soon as 2030. So the significant uplift from the UK, from UK aid support, will help developing countries to pursue low carbon and climate resilience and environmentally sustainable development. Here in Namibia, we've been working with partners already on projects that fall within these categories. So projects looking at green irrigation, on strengthening the climate resilience strategy here in the city of Windhoek. Food insecurity in the Kunene region, which we know is most severely impacted by drought in Namibia, and supporting Namibia in addressing the impacts of climate change is a priority for the UK. So we will continue to work with partners here on the ground to do whatever we can to support their resilience to climate change.
I understand that the Queen of England, who was meant to be a part of this summit, has unfortunately made public that she will no longer attend. Will her absence from the summit affect, the deliberations in any way?
Well, I don't think it will affect the deliberations directly, but the Queen, as we know, is a strong figure for the United Kingdom, for the Commonwealth and for the globe, and her presence will be sorely missed at the conference. I understand that she will be sending through video message to all the global leaders that will be attending. So her presence will be there, and of course she will have the support of other members of the royal family to be there to welcome world leaders to the United Kingdom and to support and encourage them to participate fully in the conference, to make these commitments and to make those commitments a reality.
Your Excellency, we run out of time, but just your final remarks you'd like to leave us with this morning.
I really want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on this crucial subject. And COP26 is such a great opportunity for everyone in the world to come together. But outside of our leaders and everything that they are doing, we as individuals in every country in the world can also play our part by doing small things to help every country become more resilient towards climate change. And it can be little things like recycling and all those things that we know about that sometimes we don't always do. So please, everybody, let's all play our part and let's do what we can to mitigate any risks of further global warming in the world, and look forward to a prosperous future for us now and for generations to come.
Thank you so much. That was the Deputy British High Commissioner to Namibia, Charlotte Fenton, talking to us this morning about the Climate Change Conference, as well as the bilateral relations that will be discussed and reinforced with the summit taking place in Glasgow. We'll be right back after the short break.